Thank you, Mark. With pleasure. So, as I said, we try here to zoom into the role of the CAP networks. And the first slide will be the why. Why have we invented this work on innovation ecosystems and having an AKIS strategic approach? Simply because you've seen already this slide here, that it is not sufficiently working. We have complaints from researchers that they can't find the operational groups. So it is very important to find each other, and there's extra effort needed, in particular by the EIP networks who are in the middle here trying to connect these two worlds. And it's so enriching. I can't advise enough how important it is to connect this field level where operational groups are very local and very anchored to their colleague farmers, etc. How important it is to link that up to other operational groups in the multi-actor project and to people who are working in the multi-actor project. So this is a challenge, and this is probably one of our main reasons, not the only, but one of our main reasons why we are doing that. Because we have more than 3,000 operational groups. We have 190, it should be, multi-actor project just from this period. And it's all going to multiply in the next one. We expect more operational groups and also more multi-actor projects, because until now, multi-actor projects were mainly focusing on agri-food, and now they are valid for the whole cluster 6. So also on biodiversity, you might have multi-actor projects, even on aquatic things, on bio-based things, of course, as usual on the food systems and on the agricultural, but it's a very broad cluster. And the whole cluster can now use the multi-actor approach, which is also congratulations to say, look, this interactive innovation model is really helping that people work together, is really essential because the challenges are so big. So this knowledge exchange has to take place in two ways, and the two ways are either physical, either through IT means. So our EIP website at EU level will be important, but we also see that already several member states are starting up to build knowledge reservoirs. They are being prepared under Horizon 2020. I have something very important to say, but that comes later on. So connecting these operational groups with Horizon projects, I showed you, brings great added value. And don't forget that all the material coming out of it is big input for your local AKIS actors. So in your training courses, in your peer-to-peer events, in your demonstrations, on websites, in e-learning courses, for the innovation support services, anybody from farmer over education to media, businesses, researchers, they can all profit from it. So your job as a CAP network is really to organize events and link these AKIS actors that they can profit from all this knowledge in innovation. And since it's something new, we realize, and we see this happening also, there are countries that now are working for 2 years, and now slowly they are distilling the interventions that they need. So it's really important to take your time to develop this, to brainstorm in AKIS coordination platforms with as many actors from your AKIS as possible, to test maybe already, as I said, from Ireland there, this example, maybe to test some future interventions. You still have 2 years transitional plus the N+3. So in total, well, we're due, let's say, 4.5 years to test certain things, because many things can go already under the current rules, and you can test them, and then you can see if you want them in your CAP plan for the future, yes or no. So further ideas. You wanted ideas. That's what I heard in the beginning. I have plenty of ideas here, but I hope you apologize that I go quick, because you can all read this at your ease. So I will just fly over all these slides so that you have the information later at hand. So first of all, there's this knowledge flow. Remember, this is the first strand, strengthening links between research and practice. There's the job of the CAP networks themselves to try to filter what is useful for their country. A Nordic country will not have the same needs as one from the south, from the east, or from the west. So there's also some selection to be done and some summarizing to be done. But there's plenty of material that is also attractive. You have to go through the EIP website, through the fiches, and then you come on videos, photos, and nice things that you can use when you want to organize something yourself. So creating these knowledge platforms or centers or hubs or whatever you want to call them, physical ones, but also digital ones, that's definitely a good move. And here we come to a higher level, make some specific incentives for researchers. This is very much needed. We have, luckily, a number of enthusiastic researchers in many of our operational groups already, but it's important that each and every researcher will be interested. And they have to get permission from their hierarchy in the Ministry of Research, often another ministry than the Ministry of Agriculture, so to share these results, and not in a typical scientific abstract, but really practice written, easy to understand, and using the dissemination channels for farmers, agricultural journals, maybe television, maybe radio, whatever is important in your country where farmers take a look at. That's where this knowledge should end up, and not in a scientific abstract, because I was for 15 years an advisor. I never read scientific abstracts. We didn't have time. So, but what we did read were the agriculture journals. So just to say that how important it is, there's much useful information, but it needs to be brought to the practitioners. And therefore, maybe some agreements with ministries of research, of innovation, of education, they have all kinds of names, on how these tasks can be shared, and so that that researchers are allowed to put some time in this. And luckily, we see already member states doing this. So this is quite important. And sometimes also research is within the Ministry of Agriculture, but then it's probably agricultural research and less some other cross-cutting research. So it is already an advantage, but then still it's mostly in another department, and you still have to make agreements that these researchers really get time to work for practice. You can have, to do this, technical assistance funding, or use your Article 3072, with which you can also pay for researchers. It's possible. It's maybe something you would not think about immediately, but you can think about actions like a multi-actor network where they contribute to and pay them with Article 72, and with national funding, of course, too. It's just reorganization of tasks within the research bodies. So, as I mentioned, national thematic networks could be a very good way to collect existing knowledge and translate it in an easy, digestible way, while you are also intermixing a number of actors. Organizing bottom-up calls for this, and do efforts to disclose the needs of farmers, and make sure that there's also this face-to-face exchange. Don't only rely on webinars and IT stuff. Make sure as a CAP network that there are regular meetings between research farmers and advisors, so that researchers can share their work with practice, meet practitioners at that moment, and learn to make work more interactive and hear about the needs of practice. And as I said, there's also these soft ways of co-location and etc. CAP networks can incentivize thematic network as well as bottom-up brokerage. Some of our CAP networks have themselves an innovation broker. Instead of an advisory group within an innovation broker. We are very flexible. For us, all this is possible. It's your choice. It's your context in your country that will make to help your decisions. But brokerage, to bring people together for operational groups, for EIP groups, is very important. And as I said, if it's possible, make continuous calls. Don't let farmers with an idea or practitioners with an idea wait too long. Adapt your approach and maybe have a set of calls so that you have a variety of subjects and a variety of bottom-up and thematic calls. You can enable your intermediate persons much more. We still have too many. Only 9% of our current operational groups has advisors in it. And they are the typical multipliers because they have a range of clients and they do mostly also other events, like sometimes on-farm demonstrations, or they run around at fairs, etc. They try to be everywhere. So these intermediate persons should be very involved and also help to connect to all this knowledge. Cross-border operational groups is something new that we will develop. Maybe we need another dedicated workshop for that on how to do it. But we know already the key pain points, because it's not only for our first two operational groups that are cross-border that we already have, but we also learned from the lags, from the leader groups, that the main issue is that the different countries have different selection criteria and different timing for their calls. So maybe we should start from the very beginning to have some common timing and say, for instance, each year, 1st of February, we do a call for cross-border groups. And our criteria will be, it's relatively simple. We have the criteria in Article 114, our interactive innovation model. It's the same for everybody because it's legislation. So there's not much discussion about that. So this timing and criteria to get this a bit aligned is very important in order to enable cross-border groups. Then communication is something that has until now not sufficiently received attention. We're here under the chapter of operational groups of interactive innovation projects. And some of our countries had in their call an obligation to use communication in this and that communication channel for practice. And this is really an approach that is very useful. Also in the CAP networks, that they produce material for you. That's very important. Peer-to-peer learning, making sure that the peers come to the different meetings. Young actors, don't forget, people in education, young researchers, they're very open for innovation and for working together. They are loving it. They come with inspirational ideas. They're not blocked in whatever is the usual way of thinking. So involve them, because they can bring you new ideas for operational groups and interactive innovation projects. To get actors together, you have countries that already now are doing speed dating, hackathons, etc. So it's very important also to think about the before life platforms. That's AKIS approach, making sure that actors regularly meet, but also an afterlife, because after a certain moment your operational group is going to stop, or your multi-actor project will stop, and after 2 or 3 years their websites close, and where is the knowledge going? So you end up most probably in some kind of, let's make a knowledge reservoir, let's make a place where this is kept alive and also interactive, because maybe it's not up to date anymore after 5 years, and you would need to adapt it a little bit, and it could lead to new projects by interaction. And I will show you something more about that later on. Design maybe a specific fund for that communication, because it could cost some money. Don't forget that communication and attractive communication with photos, videos, YouTubes, you name it, we definitely do not share enough the results of our operational groups. Our education actors are hardly in touch with operational groups. So this is typical AKIS strategic approach. Make sure that they connect and they can learn from these innovative results. I'm going to look a little bit further because our time is short. Digital knowledge, I already mentioned it. Platforms to discuss, training on digital skills is important. Knowledge reservoirs are important. Common standards and languages are important. We have 2 Horizon projects, one almost finished, Euracnos, another one running, Eureka, and they learned us. They are working together with DG Digit, our EU Commission DG on digital issues. And if we ever want to have our EU knowledge reservoir for practice, connecting with all your AKIS reservoirs in an interoperable way, we need to respect certain common standards. I will explain later. Digital tools, social media, and online education material. Here are a number of links of where you can find communication material that is already there. I liked a lot that Marta, who did an effort to make for us this presentation for the NCPs, she took her time to look to the EIP website. And when she was sending her presentation to us, it was really nice to hear that she discovered a lot just by looking to the EIP website. She was surprised of what you can find all there. And here is a little bit, it's just a snapshot of what you can find on the EIP website. Further to incentivize interactive innovation projects, I think I'm going to skip this because of the time. Don't forget in operational groups to get advisors involved. This is very different in our countries. We have countries where in each operational groups advisors are in, at least one or maybe even more. And in other countries, it's just the researchers and the practitioners, the farmers who are working together. But we really need these advisors. Why? Because they have a broader view than the farmers that are in the project. They see everything, what happens in their clients, so they can bring in a lot of practical knowledge, and vice versa. They can bring it out to the broader world, and they are a perfect multiplier. They can disseminate this new knowledge already during the project at an early stage because they are involved. And this will make bridges also between the CAP and Horizon project. So this is a real point of attention to get these advisors better in. And in the past, it was not so easy to do it with our FAST system, but now it is really a deliberate action to do extra efforts on that. I think here we have a double, and then we're going to the end. We hope to speed up creativity and practice application, and better connectivity and quicker circulation of all information we have, each in our countries and at EU level, so that we can build better AKISs in the countries and then link them all up across the EU. So that's what we need to do, and that's why we need to push a little bit. Voilà. Thanks for your attention.